to count to 7 or 14 or 21 cycles without mental distraction crowding your mind. Shift your mind to think of a holy being that you feel close to and call them to you, invite them here, ask them to be close to you, be with you. Try to feel them, try to have a sense of them. What do they feel like? Really place your mind in an awareness of them and their radiance and the emotional and mental feeling of being close to a great holy being. If you have been here as holiness or some other great spiritual teacher, you can recall that feeling and try to make it as clear and firm and intense as you can. Visualize holy being, whatever works for you. Once you feel their holiness, their presence, really intensify that feeling as much as you can. And invite them to be close to you. You can see them sitting next to you, feel them sitting next to you, or even adorning the space above your head as a small glowing figure, crown one. So we'll try to maintain awareness of their presence as we go through the evening. So, homage to all holy beings. Thank you for coming. So, this is the state we are trying to attain, right? I mean, it's important to have some sense or some feeling of what it is we're trying to get to, what it is we're trying to attain, what we want to become, right? So very important, very valuable to have a clear feeling, understanding, sensation of what great holiness is and what great virtue is and what purity is, what enlightenment is. So the teachers we meet, the holy teachers we meet, or the beautiful meditations we have, or the great high virtuous experiences that we have, are really our closest approximation to our goal, right? I mean, what is our highest, pure, virtuous, holy state that we experience, right? What is the highest expression of that we've encountered in our lives, and what is that to us, and what does it feel like, and what's it like to be that, right? I mean, that's our aspiration, that's our intention, that's what we're trying to achieve and to attain. So, very important to hold that close and keep that in our center, and to not lose sight of it. We want to embody that. We want to manifest that. We want to become that, right? And so, very important not to just lose the feeling, I would say. So, could go on for a while, but it's not the point of the class, so I won't. Tonight we are talking about what? What did we talk about last week?
Concentration and wisdom.
Last week we talked about
Patience.
Yeah, we're going through the 6 perfections, right? We're doing the review course. We're on our final review. We're reviewing a good portion of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, right? Guide, right? So we've got 4 classes on the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life is an explication of the 6 perfections, along with various other things as well, right? And so we said the 6 perfections are things which, if you practice them and if you perfect them, they bring you to become a bodhisattva, and they'll bring you to the end of the bodhisattva path, right? So we've gone through. What are the first perfections?
Yeah.
We've gone through. Yeah, last summer we did giving, right? We did giving, we did
Ethics.
Yeah, perfection of ethical life or morality.
Patience, freedom from anger.
Yeah, we did the perfection of patience, which is not getting angry, right? And then we started on the perfection of joyful effort last week. So we've got a little more to do to wrap up the perfection of joyful effort, and then we're on to the perfection of concentration or meditation, right? And then we'll continue on with the perfection of wisdom after that. Okay? So there's sort of one last main idea to cover when we talk about the perfection of effort, which we said is what, right? I mean, what is joyful effort, simply?
Enjoying doing good things.
Yeah, being happy when you do goodness, right? Feeling juiced and feeling upbeat and feeling uplifted and inspired and good. When you help people, when you're virtuous, when you do good things in the world, right? It's like getting off on being a good person. So it's very simple, right? It's not complicated. It's not hard. I mean, it's very nuanced and there's a lot to it. So then, in that respect, there's this idea of Thamsam Namdak, right? Which is taking personal responsibility. So it's one thing to say, that's a great idea to be a good person. It's a great idea to help other people. But then there's by extension, actually doing something, right? And in what context and under what circumstances, right? So this is the ultimate expression of joyful effort, and it's just short of bodhicitta. So it's really the last step before you reach ultimate compassion or bodhicitta. It's kind of a beautiful and special idea, and it's basically sort of being independent-minded, being strong, and saying, this is my value system, this is my belief system, and it doesn't matter if anyone agrees with me or not. It doesn't matter if people support me. It doesn't matter if I'm the last person on the earth that thinks this way and feels this way. This is what I think, this is what I believe, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to engage in virtuous activities. I'm going to engage in goodness. I'm going to engage in bodhisattva activities, even if no one helps me, even if people try to obstruct me, right? I'm gonna do what needs to be done, irrespective of help or not, right? Whether anyone pitches in or help me or not, right? And so Master Shantideva goes into it in some detail in the guide, and he says, look, you're in the desire realm. By definition, people here are crazy. People here are afflicted. If you're an ordinary human being, and lots of holy beings, no doubt, playing manifestation game, but if you're an ordinary human being, that means your mind is highly afflicted most of the time. And why would you expect a crazy person with an afflicted mind to do something to help you, right? It doesn't work that way, right? So, the Master Shantideva goes into saying, look, the mental afflictions that cause birth in the desire realm, and I mean, if you take a step back in Buddhist cosmology, there are different realms, right? There's heaven, hell, wandering spirits, humans, animals, etc., right? So, and each realm has its own particular mind state or mental state and afflictions, physical and mental. And so the afflictions associated with this realm, right, are particularly strong and particularly bad. And so, as a normal person, if you're here, that means you have a whole galaxy of mental afflictions going on pretty much all the time, or almost all the time, right? So we're in this crazy realm. It's Holy Geshe Michael calls it a broken realm. We keep thinking that there's some way to make it work, right? Doesn't matter how much you try and how much we tweak and how much you try to micromanage, our schedule and our life and our activities. They're never going to be fulfilling, fully fulfilling or fully satisfying. We think if I move to a better place, if I get a better job, if I have a better partner, if I have a better car, if I have a better whatever, right? I move to New Jersey instead of living in Manhattan. Life would be better. Maybe people don't think that. But, it doesn't work that way. You can move to New Jersey.
Apparently.
Yeah. Problems in New Jersey.
Work for me.
So this idea that if I keep making adjustments, that I'll be happy, I'll find lasting happiness, right? And it doesn't work because we're in a broken realm, right? So 26 major afflictions, 84,000, afflictions that float through our minds or fill our minds. And those who practice and reduce their mental afflictions are actually odd relative to the rest of the world. Like as we start to clean our mental afflictions and behave differently, we're actually the ones that are the oddballs who are different from everybody else. Everybody else is off chasing this, that, and the other thing, and so you change your mind 1 degree, and you're very different from most of the people in the world. It's remarkable to watch, right? So, by definition, in this realm, you have to be willing to do virtues on your own, and that's lump sum nummed up. Master Shantideva says, don't be upset if other people don't help you. Don't be upset if other people hinder you or actively interfere with your doing virtue because they think you're crazy or they think it's the wrong idea. I remember my wife was telling me, she said, there's a thing that went viral where someone was online, and it was in New York City, and some lady gave, it was in winter, some lady gave a coat to someone who didn't have a coat. And another person came along and started actually angrily yelling at her, saying, why did you do that? You're crazy. Why are you giving this person a coat? This long diatribe about how she was crazy for helping a cold person and giving a cold person a coat. And it's our realm. That's what it's like. Right? So 90% of the people on this planet are striving like madmen and madwomen to get money, houses, fame, power, food, and eat, and they're hard to get. And even if you get them, you can't keep them. So we have the dual problems here. We spend our lives trying to get things which are difficult to get, and then when we get them, we lose them sooner or later, either before we die or at the point of death. So it's this crazy pursuit where the vast majority of people are trying to get things, and they don't have any urge at all to be virtuous or help with dharma or engage in goodness, right? So Master Sanjay David says, don't worry about it, just chill out. It's a desire realm, right? People are living here because they have desire, you know? And they're chasing their desires, and it's the nature of where we are. It's the nature of this realm, and don't be surprised, and don't be upset, and go about your spiritual practice and your business, right? So, and he goes on to say that people don't even know how to take care of themselves. Why would you expect that people would take care of others or help you take care of someone else? You know, people can't even look after themselves. They don't even know how to pursue the causes of their own happiness, right? Most people think they're pursuing their happiness when in fact they're pursuing negativity and causing harm to themselves. So he says, don't get upset, just keep going, right? Whether anybody helps or not, just focus on the goals of the path and be happy and do joyful efforts. Well, you see people, you go to Dharma centers and you see people like, I've been working for years as a center director, nobody helps me, I do all the work, I have to set up, I have to clean up, I have to do all the, everything in between, I have to do the water bowl, I have to go shopping, I have to, and like they get bitter after a certain amount of time, right? They like start this really engaged, wonderful interest, and then they get bitter and burn out. And Master Shanti David says, don't go that way. He says, you got to understand that if you're doing this, you're doing it because you want to. You're doing it because it's your path. You're doing it because it's congruent with your heart and your mind and your belief system. And don't think that it's about somebody else pitching in and helping you. Don't think that you're going to have a band of merry men and women who are marching along in lockstep with you, who are saying, "Isn't this great? Let's all do it together." It's not necessarily that way. It's not the case. So, have joyful effort, and it's a crazy realm, and don't expect crazy people to help you do things that are virtuous. Don't feel discouraged. He says, it's not easy. People don't even understand that they have to work to tame their minds, to control their minds, to discipline their minds. People don't even understand that they need to meditate 5 minutes a day. And even people who do understand it can't get themselves to meditate 5 minutes a day. So, said, people don't take care of themselves, So don't be surprised if they don't take care of others and don't help you. So that's personal responsibility. It's like, don't worry about anybody else. Don't count on anybody else. Don't wait for anybody else. Don't hope for anybody else. Wonderful if they do. Great if they do. Be happy if they do, of course. Lovely to have companionship on the spiritual path and and fellow practitioners, pitching in. But it's not the point. If you're a bodhisattva and you're engaged in the perfection of joyful effort, just do it and be happy. Because what do we say makes a perfection? What makes a perfection? What makes something perfect? Like what makes giving perfect? It's your attitude.
Continued intention, right?
It's your attitude. You don't perfect giving by giving away so much stuff that everybody has what they need. That's not how you perfect giving. And you don't perfect joyful effort by being happy when everything is just right. These are inner states, right? The perfection of each of the 6 perfections means or is that you have an inner state where you are happy to give all the time, right? It's like so the perfection of giving is, I walk down the street and I see a homeless person and I'm not like, that's not my reflex. My reflex is, how can I help them? How can I do something for them? And of course, maybe you can, maybe you can't. But what is one's inner state? What is one's baseline? What is one's impulsive nature, whatever you want to call that, right? And so the same thing is true of joyous effort, right? What is one's inner state around joyous effort? Oh, there's some virtue to do. I'm happy to do that virtue. Oh, there's some goodness to engage in. I'm happy to engage in that goodness. Goodness is what I want to do. Goodness is all I want to do, and every time I see an opportunity for goodness, there's not this sense of like, I don't want to be bothered, not really my thing. Rather be, going to see, Fast and Furious 10 or something, whatever it is that's out there these days, right? So that's it, I'm happy to help goodness flourish in the world. in whatever way seems most suitable and most appropriate to me, using my discernment and judgment and wisdom, right? So that's personal responsibility. It's like, doesn't matter if anybody else likes it. Doesn't matter if anybody helps me. It's what I like. It's what I'm excited about. It's what I feel good about. And I'm doing it for those reasons because that's my baseline, right? That's my basic inner state. That's my basic impulse, right? So like that. Okay, so then we're on to meditation, right? The next perfection. So we're going to talk about meditation a little bit. And so there are really I wouldn't say types of meditation, 3 divisions of meditation. I don't want to call it that. We talk about meditation in 3 ways. So there's the meditation you do when you're on your cushion. There's the content of your mind, right? And then there's what you're doing when you're off your cushion. So, if you think about it, your mind always has content. If you've done any kind of retreat where you're trying to have single-pointed concentration or visualize or practice in any way, you see that your mind is always looking for something to process and something to focus on and something to turn over, right? So there's the issue of what is the content of the mind all day long. Doesn't matter if you're on the cushion, doesn't matter if you're off the cushion, doesn't matter if you're at work, doesn't matter if you're on the subway, walking down the street, whatever, right? So it's just, what's the content of your mind? So that's one element of meditation or contemplation, right? What's the content of your mind, right? So then, of course, you're on the cushion or you're off the cushion. You're on the cushion and what are you doing? What's the content of your mind? You're off the cushion. What are you doing? What's the content of your mind? So that's a way to talk about it, right? That's a way to frame it and approach it, right? So that's the way that we're going to talk about it this evening, all right? So what do you do during a meditation session, right? And why do you need a deep meditation session? Is it important to have a deep meditation session? When you're on the cushion, what's going on, right? So, and then what kind of behavior do you engage in? And what do you think about the rest of the day when you're off the cushion, right? And what's the content of your mind in both cases? So we'll start with the meditation sessions, right? When you're on the cushion. So when you're on the cushion, ideally you want to get into a deep state of meditation. And there's a deep state of meditation that one can get into, it's a kind of a neutral meditation. Like, for example, if you're doing breath meditation, you're meditating on anything which is non-virtuous, right? You're sitting there for however many hours a day, and that's your lifetime practice. And because you're in meditation 5 or 6 hours a day, or however long you're meditating seriously, your mind is withdrawn from its normal content, right? Like if I'm walking down the street, I'm thinking about, I like that person, they're stupid, I'm hungry, I don't like my job, right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so the content of the mind is split between things we're chasing after and things we want and things we don't like and things we don't want, right? Like that, don't like that. That's good, that's bad. Really want that, really hate that. That's kind of normal content, right? And so as a result of the mind functioning that way in an ordinary human life, we're engaging in this constant mental negativity all day long. There's these low-level, subtle thoughts around, wow, they're ugly, or that was really dumb, or Donald Trump is so stupid, or whatever thought. It's just you watch your own mental chatter and you watch your own mental process, and you can be aware of the content of your own mind. Right? Everybody's unique, but overall, the content of the mind is not virtuous. The content of the mind is either chasing after desirable things or saying, thinking negative thoughts, right? So when one does even a neutral meditation, if one is a serious meditation practitioner and does deep meditation on a regular basis, even on a neutral object, what happens is it serves to stop that mental process, that mental content, right? So if I'm sitting and doing breath meditation for 5 or 6 hours a day, and that's my main practice, and I get really serious, and I spend, my life on it, what happens is that I have just cut off a tremendous amount of negative karma. I have stopped collecting a tremendous amount of negative karma because I'm absorbed in meditation. I'm not thinking all those other thoughts, which I would normally be thinking, right? So that process, that simple, basic, neutral meditation on something like the breath or whatever else, no great virtue involved. It stops the collection of negative karma, and as a result, it's enough to be born in a higher realm. Just not having our normal mental negative chatter is enough to be born in a higher realm, in the next life, in a form realm. So it's a sort of a semi-paradise, a semi-paradisical realm. And so what happens is in a circumstance like that, in Buddhist cosmology, you take a rebirth where things are really blissful. You think something, you have it, life is great. Only good things, etc., etc. And it consumes, and what all of our virtuous karmas flower. The negative karmas don't. And so then at the end of that lifespan, which is very long and very pleasurable, you've consumed the bulk of your virtuous karmas. They flowered, express themselves, and they're gone. And you're left with your negative karmas, and then at the end of that lifespan, you fall into a low realm, a hell realm, and you have a suffering rebirth, right? So it's not a desirable state. From a Buddhist perspective, it's not a desirable thing to just do neutral meditation, end up in a semi-paradisical realm, and then hang out there for a long time, because at the end of that life, you're screwed, right? Why are we talking about this? Because it is necessary, and it is important to go into deep meditation, and it is important to get to the first level of the form realm, which is not as a place where you take a rebirth, but as a place where you can meditate. Okay? When one is engaged in meditation, and one develops their capacity, one can reach a place where they're disengaged from the senses. You could be sitting there meditating, and somebody could be playing music next door in the apartment, and you wouldn't hear it, right? Somebody could be making your favorite fruit down the hall, and you wouldn't smell it, right? So the phone would ring, and you wouldn't hear it. So once we reach a place in our meditation where we can withdraw, where the mind can withdraw from the sensory inputs, because what happens, right? Senses come in through, inputs come in through the senses. We hear things, we smell things, we touch things. They're registered by the mind, they're processed by the mind, they're conceptualized, and they're reacted to, right? So it's possible for the mind to be withdrawn enough where when those sensory stimuli are, or coming in, the mind doesn't register them, the mind doesn't process them, and the mind doesn't react to them, right? So in that kind of deep state of meditation, then it's possible to have profound realization. And so I'm wondering if I should do a little Tibetan or not. Not. Yes. He says, yes, do it. Okay. So it's called Michokme, that level of Michokme, that level of the form realm. It's called Michokme in Tibetan. And it's the first level of the form realm, right? And on that level of the form realm is where one perceives emptiness or ultimate reality. So there's a particular sort of mental state or perceptual state which one attains. I'm going to say it a little differently. When one's mind is able to withdraw from the senses, and when one's mind has the capacity, and when one's mind has the subtle characteristic or nature to be able to perceive and experience the first level of the form realm, then the mind also has the capacity to perceive emptiness and ultimate reality, right? So in a way, they're close to each other, if you could say, perhaps, right? So when one develops the meditative capacity such that they can perceive the first level of the form realm, they also have developed the capacity where they're able to perceive ultimate reality, right? So very important to be able to get to that mental state and that meditative state, right? If you followed your breath forever, didn't do any virtue, didn't meditate on emptiness or ultimate reality, you would be born into the first level of the form realm, a semi-paradisical realm, and you would have a long lifespan of great times. And then at the end of that, you would fall to a low realm, sadly. So not the point, right? So all of the lousy thoughts we're having throughout the day, jealousy, anger, pride, those are the things where we're collecting, the whining, the complaining, those are, we're collecting those subtle negative karmas all day long, right? And so, it might be 70% negative thoughts, and it might be, 30% of irritations. Doesn't matter. Whatever the mix is between the afflictions, it's enough to keep us here. So when you get to a point where you can start to calm those mental afflictions, it's actually quite refreshing. If you're sitting even if you're just sitting in a breathing meditation for a couple of hours, it feels really nice because you're not thinking all those lousy thoughts for 3 hours or an hour, however long you're doing it. I mean, even if you're just doing a neutral meditation, like a breathing meditation, it's actually quite refreshing because you've actually stopped thinking, I really hate them, I'm so annoyed at work, I can't believe they did this to me, I can't believe they treated me like that, I'm so afraid this is going to happen in the future. I mean, to actually just stop all the ordinary thoughts for an hour or 2 or 3, even in a neutral meditation, is quite refreshing, It's not so bad, right? So you don't have time to think about how much you hate other people or anything else, right? So not because we're doing any good effort, but just because we're restraining ourselves. So anyway. So the other thing to say about the importance of deep meditation on the cushion is that one only moves up the spiritual ladder. One only attains spiritual realizations in deep meditation. And you recall we talked previously about there are 5 Buddhist paths, right? Path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, path of habituation, path of mental learning. These are all, each path represents a discrete spiritual evolution, right, or attainment. And one can only move from one level to the next level in a deep meditative state, right? So it's another reason why deep meditation is important, right? To move up the ladder in your spiritual career, right? So, but the main reason is each of those 5 paths is about seeing emptiness and experiencing ultimate reality, right? So that's the main reason why deep meditation is important, because what happens if we don't experience ultimate reality in this life? You continue to suffer, die, have rebirth, suffer, age, die, infinitely. Infinite future lives, infinite existence, right? Of mundane ups and downs and all around, some good days, some bad days, some really bad days, maybe some good days. And it goes on and on and on, infinitely, right? There's no end in sight. And so what happens if you do meditate deeply and experience ultimate reality, right? You see the day of your future enlightenment. You know how long it'll be until all of your suffering is finished forever, right? You meet the Dharmakaya, of an enlightened being. You can read people's minds for a while. Not the point, just a byproduct. But imagine what it feels like to know that your suffering will be ended. Your problems. You will never have another problem. You will never have another bad day. You will never have another bad thought for infinite time. I mean, it's pretty amazing, right? So to get to a place where you're just like, oh my God, I'm absolutely positive that as of this moment, which I know when it will occur, I will never have another slight unpleasantness of any kind, let alone serious unpleasantness of any kind. Everything will be amazingly good forever, right? So that's pretty incredible. So, I mean, if you can experience ultimate reality and emptiness, perceive emptiness, that brief experience of 20 minutes or however long it lasts is more important than your entire lifetime of everything else which has happened up to that point. that experience of emptiness is more important than every other thing which has ever happened to you in your entire existence. So a very important spiritual event or realization or occurrence. And then once you experience that, you're what's called a stream enter, and you're on your way out. You're definitively on your way out of the suffering life, and you will become Tara or Manjushri or whatever manifestation of holiness is appropriate, right? So, but you have to practice in deep meditation to get to that, to experience that. It requires deep meditative state, right? And that's an hour or two, not counting preliminaries, not counting sadhana, not counting whatever else one might be doing on the cushion. It's an hour or two of deep single point of concentration or absorption. And if you don't do it, then you can't see emptiness and will continue to suffer and die, and that's it. So you have to meditate, you have to try. And you get old. You get older, right? It's like you get older and then it's too late, right? Like, I can't sit, my body won't do it. My mind can't focus anymore. So you have to do it. You have to try. It's hard, especially in New York City. There's so many things competing for our time, and there's so many things competing for our attention. It's family, it's relationship, it's work, it's play, it's all of it, right? And it's important to honor our commitments, and it's important to fulfill our responsibilities. And it's more important to find a way to structure life so that we can meditate deeply. And it's very hard to do, and it's a huge challenge for all of us, but essential nonetheless, and required and essential nonetheless. So have to try, right? Can't get out of the suffering life unless we see emptiness. Everything we think is important now won't be, when we're done with work and retired and approaching death. My mom was running around with business, and doing things until the day she died. None of it mattered, really. And my dad is old and sits there, with nothing to do and no friends and no activities and no meaning and no purpose. And old age is not fun. Normal, ordinary old age sucks. Everybody dies, either for you or you go first, either way. And when then you're left there with no one around. I remember if it was you this time, G was visiting somebody at a nursing home. Was it who? Someone told me. I don't remember who it was. They were saying they were visiting somebody at a nursing home. They visit somebody at a nursing home regularly, and they're just abandoned. There's like not one person in their life that visits them. There's not one person that ever comes and talks to them or interacts with them or does anything with them. And that's, we're all headed for that. It's not like we won't experience it. Live in Battery Park and walk by the upscale, call it a nursing home. It's a high rise and everybody dresses in their jewels for dinner, and the tables are set with fine linens, and there's servants there with their tuxedo vests standing with the drinks and the food and bringing the carts around, but they still can't get out of the chair. They're dressed very nicely and everyone's waiting on them, and they got fine tablecloths and fine crystal, and they're all sitting there like, and it's the same deal. It doesn't matter how much money you made. It doesn't matter how much status you had. It doesn't matter how many friends you had. They're sitting there not talking to each other because they don't have anything left to say, and they can barely get up out of the chair. And so whatever you accomplish in this life, whatever you attain in this life from a worldly perspective, no matter how much money, no matter how much power, no matter how much of anything, other than meditative capacity, you're pretty much screwed when you get old. It's really the bottom line. The only thing that'll help you when you get old is your meditative capacity, your mind and your realizations, right? And what you're doing with your mind, right? The content of your mind, which we'll get to, right? So when the day comes when we die, it's anything that we spend time on that's of a worldly nature, we think is just very stupid, right? There's nothing that helps us when we die. I had an uncle that died recently, and I remember, he was all of a sudden, stage 4 liver cancer, boom, like that, and he had a couple of weeks, and so it's like he was trying to figure out what to do. He's like, well, let me download everything I know to everyone around me. Let me just give everyone in my life advice about how to live. And it was just like, it's all ordinary worldly stuff. It's like, maybe that'll provide some meaning. If I just kind of give advice to everyone about how to be a good business, he's CEO, blah, blah, blah. great family, great grandkids. Maybe if I just give everybody a lot of advice about how to be a good person, then my life will have meaning as I'm about to die here. Yeah, not so much. So that's the nature of it, right? In the best case scenario, he was in an assisted living facility where he had his own chalet, and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. All right. So moving on, not to dwell on it. So that's a sales pitch for deep meditation, right? It's the only thing that's going to help you when you die. The realizations you attain in deep meditation are the only things which are going to move you up your spiritual ladder and bump you up in your spiritual career. And it's the only way you're going to perceive ultimate reality, to have a definitive end to suffering and infinite suffering rebirth. So I'd say that's pretty good, pretty convincing. So now Arya Nagarjuna, he's quite adamant about the fact that meditation is not something you just do on your cushion. It's an all-day undertaking, right? He's like, you think you're going to be on the cushion an hour or two a day, and you're going to be off the cushion for 23 or 22 hours, and the hour or two is going to outweigh the 23 hours? Nuh-uh. Doesn't work that way. Just, do the math, right? Not to mention, what you're doing with your mind for 23 hours has an impact upon your hour on the cushion, right? And that's really the main point that he's making here. It's like, listen, if you junk your mind up for 23 hours, and you're like, hopped up on whatever in your mind for 23 hours, and then you sit down and say, I'm going to get calm now, I'm going to get peaceful now, I'm going to meditate now, I'm going to have a wholly virtuous mind now for an hour. It's like, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Oh, forget it. It's not going to happen, It doesn't work that way. So he says you've got to work with your mind all day long. You have to be aware of your mind, and you have to be kind to your mind, and you have to be conditioning your mind all day long, so that when you sit down on the cushion, there's a carry-through, right? There's a continuation. There's a baseline to operate from. For me, in my experience in retreat, it's like, whenever I go into retreat, I'm operating from a certain baseline. I go into retreat with a baseline, and then I can bump it up however far from my baseline, and hopefully that becomes a new baseline, right? It's maintained. So what's the baseline, right, that we're operating from? So this is really what Arya Nagarjuna is talking about, and what we're addressing when we talk about the time off the cushion, right? And so he presents 5 principles where you have to sort of pay attention to these things to keep yourself in sort of a slightly mild samadhi state throughout the day. Sort of an aware, a mindful state throughout the day, right? So there are 5 things which prevent that. There are 5 major obstacles to having a awareness, calm, peaceful mind throughout the day, right? So if you got these things in your mind is not calm, it's not balanced, it's not in a good place to be able to meditate when you sit down. So be aware of these things and take care of them, right? All right. So 5 principles for keeping yourself in sort of a half samadhi all day long. And the opening verses of the guide, Bodhisattva Sort of Life, the chapter on meditation, it says, whoever cannot keep some kind of samadhi going all day long, it's like they have their head in the mouth of a monster with great fangs, and the monster's about to crush your skull. If you don't have samadhi all day long, stick your head in the lion's jaws, because that's about how precarious you are. It's a dangerous spot, a dangerous place to be, right? So, why? Because you're vulnerable to afflictions and negativity and klesha attacks all day long, right? From experience, you travel, you fly, you get run down, easy to be irritated, easy to be upset, easy to pop off, right? Tired, don't sleep enough, not feeling well. So many things when our mind is off balance, it's so easy to just lose it. It's like my kids. I can tell you, it's like I have a certain, I'm okay most of the time, but then I get off balance to a certain degree. It's like, forget it. So easy to lose it. So easy to get upset or angry or snap or say something inappropriate, right? Something negative. So when we're run down, our immune system is low, we're off balance, then we're at the mercy of our afflictions, right? And we're primed for a klesha attack, right? And it's like we don't have any ability to put up a fight. It's like we can't resist. It's just like the defenses are gone. It's just like it comes up and boom, it's out there, right? No resistance, right? So So Ariana Virginia is saying, don't think of meditation as just a deep session. It has to be maintained all day long. And so he gives these 5 things that we have to pay attention to, right? So he says, look, if you have a restless mind, it destroys your ability to meditate. You know, if you, now we're talking about this as you're walking around for 20, 23 hours a day, whatever it is, right? If your mind is restless when you're walking around all day long, don't think you're going to sit down and be able to meditate on the cushion in some kind of deep session, okay? So what does that mean, you know? I mean, it's just thinking about stuff all the time. What am I going to do later today? You know, what am I going to do an hour from now, right? This is jumping from one object, one desire object to another. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that, right? It's like, I mean, I remember when I watched TV, right? It's like channel surfing. It's like, oh, I don't like what's on that channel. Flip the channel. It's like the mind needs constant entertainment, right? We talked about the content of the mind. The mind is always wanting some fresh, new entertainment. The mind wants distraction. It wants diversion. It wants something else. And that's the nature of this realm. It's like the mind always wants something else. Whatever it has, it doesn't want. It wants something else. You know, you could have all the best stuff, and it wants something else, right? So this is restless desire. It's just like, oh, look at him. Oh, look at her. Oh. It's like surfing the channels. Like when they first came out with cable and there were endless channels, or now you go to Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is. It's like, oh, not that movie. Oh, there's 800 movies. Let me just try that one. So this kind of restless mind, which is jumping from thing to thing. You got 3 minutes of attention here, and you got 3 minutes of attention there, and you got 1 minute of attention there. That living life like that throughout the day will ruin your deep meditation. That's what Master Ariana Virginia is saying. Okay. So channel surfing with your life, right? Not able to keep your mind on anything for any period of time. Skipping from attractive object to attractive object. And then you sit down and meditate on your cushion for an hour in the morning, and you can't figure out why you can't do it. It's like, I'm really trying to meditate, but my mind just wants to think about all these things, and it's all over the place. Guess why? Because you just trained it to do that for 23 hours in a row. You have habituated your mind to be jumping all over the place for, all of your waking hours. Why wouldn't it do that when you sit down? Right? Yeah. So you have to take care of your mind the whole time you're out of meditation, or you won't be able to meditate. And so then he says, having some kind of regret. It's missing a person or a thing. It's like, oh, I remember when. It's like thinking about the good old days. Oh, I used to be thin. I used to be able to fit into my clothes. I used to have hair. I used to have people who wanted me. I used to be somebody, I used to make a lot of money. I used to be young, I used to travel. So it's like always thinking about the past, right? It's like, So again, it's a kind of content. What is the content of the mind? The mind's not satisfied, right? The mind is not satisfied in a different way, in that it's always revisiting the past and what used to be and what could be and what isn't, right? So that's another sort of way in which the mind behaves, which is disruptive of meditation, right? Because it's not in the present. It's not here. It's not still. It's not focused on what's happening right now, right? So Ariana Virginia is saying, look, you could be like diverted by all the things you see all around you. You could be thinking about all the things you're going to do this afternoon, or you could be thinking about all the things that used to be, Same, right? It's just mental scatter, mental hopscotch, right? And it's not supportive of meditation, right? It doesn't matter what job you used to have, So living in the present, right? Okay. So then the second obstacle that he presents is thinking about what you don't like. Is what can be called malice. I don't like that person. I can't believe they did that to me. I am so angry at them. I hate that person. I hate them. Whatever. I mean, whatever degree along the spectrum you're going of not liking someone, mildly or majorly, right? All the way up to malice, right? So 90% of the day we spend exerting ourselves to chase after pleasure, the things we want. And then, 10% of the day we're thinking about the things we really dislike, and the people we really dislike, right? Some kind of anger or malice, right? State of irritation or agitation or dislike. So, I mean, if you're in a state of meditation, if you sit down on your cushion and you have a thought of, I mean, let's say you are concentrating, and then you have the thought comes into your mind, I really don't like that person, or I can't believe what they did to me. It pops you right out of meditation, right? And as soon as you have some kind of strong thought of dislike for a person, good luck trying to get back into any kind of centered, calm, focused state. Not going to happen. You may as well just get up and go to work early, because you're not getting back there. So this is the other point that Arya Nagarjuna makes. He says, you cannot meditate, if you have some kind of anger or malice in your mind towards a person. It just doesn't work. It disrupts the mind. It disrupts the mind's stability. It disrupts the mind's focus. It disrupts the mind's samadhi, right? All right. So, and this is with family. This is with workers, co-workers. And this is not some abstract, theoretical, philosophical thing. This is, the people that we're around all day long. What are we thinking about? How are we feeling about it? Right? What's in our head? What's the content of our mind all day long? That's what we're talking about, right? So you have to watch the mind all day long and be in kind of the semi-meditative state, this awareness, self-awareness, self-reflective state, right? So, and it's great, if you have this going, it feels nice all day to not be walking down the street feeling annoyed. I mean, just think about your day. You're walking down the street, you're getting on the subway, and you don't think, the stairs are so slippy and it's so annoying. There are slush puddles everywhere and it's so annoying. I'm so tired of stepping in, like dirty slush, and I'm so tired of people bumping into me getting on the subway cars, and blah 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 blah. I mean, imagine if you're just walking down, doing the same thing, going like, I feel pretty good, I feel pretty happy, I'm whatever, I'm looking forward to how I can help someone, very different way to go through the day, right? So, makes a big difference. And it's a really nice way to go through the day. And then great things start happening. Living like that and thinking like that ripens beautiful karmas and brings beautiful results, right? So, okay. So then the third one are kind of being drowsy and dull. So lethargic, right? And what leads to lethargy, drowsiness, and dullness? What is your experience? What leads you to feel lethargic or drowsy or dull in your life?
Sleep, overeating.
Eating too much, not sleeping enough. Those are two good ones, right? You want to throw something out? You look like you're on the verge.
No.
No?
I'll keep that to myself.
Keep that. That's personal. Yeah, I mean, don't think that you're going to be sleep deprived and do some kind of profound, deep meditation. It's not going to happen. Don't think that you're going to eat too much pizza and then sit down and meditate, right? And have a bright, alert mind. It's not going to happen, right? It just doesn't work. So I mean, there are all these illusions we have about I can just have my life the way I always have it. I can eat a big bowl of ice cream and it won't matter, and then I'll do great meditation. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. And so there's this crazy way that we approach meditation, it's just something over there where you just sit down and you flip a switch and then you meditate and then some profound thing happens because you sat down for 30 minutes and then you're done. Then you get on with your life and you do whatever else you feel like all day long. You can be as pissed off as you want. You can stay up as late as you want. You can overeat as much as you want. And then you just sit down and meditate and everything's great, and then you have a profound realization again the next day. No, it doesn't work, right? It just doesn't. So best to meditate, when you're feeling light, when you're feeling alert, when you're feeling well rested. For a lot of people, morning is good, presumably you go to bed on time. For me, good practice always starts with bedtime. It's if I don't have the right bedtime, I cannot practice. I'm wasted at night, working all day, dealing with the kids, getting them to bed, wife, chores. It's yeah, I'll be bright and rested and alert and focused. Sure. Nah, not in the night. And so then, okay, stay up late, set the alarm, wake up tired, have a great, fresh meditative state? No, it's only going to happen if I get to bed on time and I get enough sleep, and I wake up, and I don't have a lot of food in my stomach, and I'm not tired, and and I've got a bright, rested, fresh state of mind, and I have a nice morning practice, right? Isn't that just common sense, right? It really is. So, all right, not to belabor the point, right? So, when we're meditating, the mind state we want is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and it's really just common sense. What prevents you from being bright-eyed and bushy-tailed? Everybody's different. So look at your life personally. Say, in my life, what detracts from my bright, alert, fresh, enthusiastic state of mind? It's an obstacle to my meditation. I have to get rid of it, or I won't meditate. It's one or the other. They are not compatible. They do not coexist. They are not. It's not going to work. And you got to choose one or the other. So, if you have bodhisattva vows, these 5 things are actually in the bodhisattva vows, and you've sworn an oath to do these things and take care of these things. So, and if you're practicing tantra or sadhana, it makes it very powerful to have this level of mindfulness and this level of awareness, and to carry it through in terms of your nagya. So you gotta, it's. I mean, think of it as being like a spiritual. I don't like to use the word athlete, but I mean it's a good metaphor or analogy. Dancers, musicians, athletes, everything is well toned. I mean, you're not going to be a great musician if you're not practicing and doing everything that's supportive of that. And you're not going to be a great athlete if you're not practicing and doing everything that's supportive of that. So whatever you're engaging in, you have to be a well-toned performer, like a well-tuned instrument, right? If you're not a well-tuned instrument, how are you going to perform, right? And the same is true of meditation as music, dance, athleticism, and anything else. You can't just be, by and large, it doesn't work to just be kind of a sloppy, haphazard practitioner, performer of meditation. It's no different than anything else. If I'm a sloppy, haphazard meditator, well, it's just like being a sloppy, haphazard musician, It doesn't get you much. Well, it's really just like that, So it really does require awareness, effort, and an overall attitude that says, this is a life practice where I have to be tuned up. I have to be attuned to being a meditator, And if I'm not tuned up as a meditator, then I won't perform well as a meditator. And it's really a broad-based life approach, And a spiritual practitioner also, obviously, also by extension. So so this is what Arya Nagarjuna is getting to, and Master Shantideva is getting to, and saying don't expect something from nothing, If you want to succeed in your meditation, if you want spiritual realizations, if you want spiritual evolution, live your life that way. Not going to just magically happen. And I think when a lot of people start with the spiritual path, or even especially Eastern philosophical paths, Buddhist paths, etc., there is this element of something magical and mystical is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but this is really different, and I'll go do it, and something's going to happen somewhere along the way, and I'll get something. I'll get some lights and stars and
You just need the right incense.
Yeah, if they ring the bell the right way, and the right incense are burning, and the right chanting is going on, and the right lama bunks me on the head in the right way, that something's going to happen, And all I have to do is just show up and sit there and wait for it, It doesn't. No, it's kind of like once you get to a certain point in your spiritual evolution, your spiritual practice, and you just go oh, it's no different than anything else. What you put into it is what you get out of it. Huh. No magic, It is mystical in the sense of you have a path which says, put these things into it, and you get magical results out of it, There is cause and effect. It's not a mystery. It's actually quite, I want to say mechanistic, but not quite. It's actually quite causal. They say, do these things, have these profound, otherworldly, multi-dimensional, multi-realm results, Want to see things? You want to see more than the human realm? Great. Make this effort. Work on your mind in this way. Clean up your perceptual ability. Refine your perceptual ability. Refine how your mind functions and practices and perceives. Do the work. You can perceive other realms. You can, meet holy beings. Be a good person. Be a pure person. Do you think that like a pure being can be perceived by a impure mind? Not so much. But then you're just like, yeah, I just want somebody to bump me on the head. I don't want to do the work. So anyway, so it doesn't fly, right? Okay. So being careful all day. So we've got to be physically fit. You've got to get enough sleep. You've got to eat well. We've got to take care of the vehicle. This vehicle. This is a bad body. It is going to die. It is going to bring an end to this life, and it's what we got to work with, while we're alive. And so we've got to use it and work with it until it disappears and we get a new body, right? So then the fourth one that Arya Nagarjuna identifies is attraction to the objects of the senses. And this is like regular life in New York City. You're walking down the street and you're going like, oh, look at that shop window. Oh, look at that boy or girl. Oh, look at that car. Oh, look at that, new building. Oh, there's this constant sort of sensory stimulation, right? It's just sensory overload. God, you may know, how many ads are we exposed to every day? How many, it's like thousands, right? Like we are bombarded by thousands of messages every day telling us what to do. And this stuff overloads the mind, right? And I remember I woke up this morning having this weird dream about like some stupid thing I saw yesterday. And I'm like, what the hell? How did it, get in there? And how did it, but it does, right? All these things we see, all these things we're exposed to imprint the mind and they're in there. And they have an effect on the mind. And so this sort of sensory overload, we've got to protect the mind from it, especially in New York City or a big city like this. It's like how do we limit the inputs into the mind? How do we limit the stuff? How do I say this? There's all this stuff we don't want going into our mind, right? We want to protect our mind, and we want a mind which is balanced, calm, focused, thinking virtuous thoughts, goodness, etc. Right? It's not what the world is doing. It's not what is being directed at us all day long. What's being directed at us all day long is, consume and you'll be happy. Beat someone else, be faster, stronger, better, screw the other guy, and your life will be wonderful. I mean, that is the common message of pretty much every TV show you ever see or every ad you ever see. It's like dominate someone, beat someone, defeat someone, consume something, and your life will be great and you will succeed. Absolutely backwards, absolutely wrong. So we have to protect our mind from all this stuff and just from being overstimulated. And so in the guide, Master Shantideva says, just keep your eyes down. Just don't look at it. Just sort of try to tune it out in whatever way you can. Get rid of the TV, right?
Sorry, a leak.
Oh, nice. Oh, wow. It's a good thing that they're moving. Good thing we're moving. So much for all that snow and ice melting. Well, we're not even on the roof, though. Yeah. You want to just let them know at the front desk, perhaps? Thomas, you want to tell them so that they can...
Sorry, John.
That's all right. They might want to go upstairs. It might just be the neighbor upstairs that's got a flood going on.
Put some paper towel in it and dull in the sound. I'll get some.
Oh, you got, is that good?
Yeah, there was a wet rag in
Is that only one?
there. Yeah, there's another one there.
No, let's finish this thought and we'll take a break.
All right.
practice your samadhi. Don't listen to the thump, thump, thump of the dripping rain. You know, if you go into retreat, there's nothing worse than you go into retreat and then the song sticks in your mind. You know, like you're trying to meditate, and all of a sudden the song is in your mind and you can't get it out for like days at a time, right? And so that all this stuff is floating around in there. It all has an impact upon meditation. So we live in a world, we live in a society where there's endless movies, endless songs, endless everything. So the point is to enjoy it and limit it. You know, don't pollute the mind with too much. Right? Don't overload the mind with too much. Yes, listen to music, but don't go crazy. You know, yes, engage in the objects of the senses in a moderate way, but not in a way where you're just overstimulated. Right? This is the point there. And then the other element of this is when you say attraction to it's the senses and attraction to the objects of the senses. Well, it obviously includes the partner and sex and sexual activity. And so, you know, if you think about dating and being interested in the opposite gender. Like, I can remember back to when I dated, it's like, God, so much time, so much energy goes into like dating. You know, it's like thinking about another person. I want another person, and I want to meet another person, and I got to find another person, and I go here, and I got to go there, I'm going to do this, and I got to do that, and like so much energy goes into that. So much mental energy goes into that, right? And then you find them, and then so much time and energy goes into like being with them and doing things with them, having fun with them, and it's like on and on and on, like. And then you're with them for a while, and then you fight, and then you argue, and so much time and energy goes into that. You know? And one way or the other, it gets you, right? So, you know, it's a natural, normal part of human life, and great, and you know, enjoy it and the rest, but moderate, right? Moderate. Don't let it take up so much time and so much energy, so that the mind is depleted and tired and unfocused, right? So the less energy we put into, how to say this, the less our mind is busy with or engaged with the distractions of life, whether it be, you know, TV, media, sex, relationship, the less energy we're putting into that, the more energy we have available internally. You know, if one is, you know, celibate, or if one is not diffusing one's life, one's energy with all the things of the world, one builds up a lot of energy and a great centering within oneself, where one is able to meditate much more effectively. Right? Much easier to concentrate, and it's a nice thing, right? The point is to try to have a centered mind, and to try to hold one's mental awareness and mental energy so that it's available for meditation, right? And everything has its place, but we don't want to obsess and we don't want to overdo it, and we don't want to get into the sensory overload of the modern world. So, and to reduce those engagement with the objects of the senses so that we can meditate better. Okay? And then number 5, so why don't we take a break? Let's take a break there, and then we'll do the last of, or do you want to do the last of our Another Journeys? Do the last, okay, we'll do number 5, and then we'll take a break. It's Tetsong, it's called Lazy Doubt. So, nothing wrong with doubt. You know, the Buddha said, doubt what I say, check what I say, analyze what I say, evaluate it, right? Don't believe what I say, you know. If you analyze it and you find it to be lacking, don't do it. You know, don't pursue it, right? So, question everything, and don't follow or accept what doesn't make sense. This is not that. You know, this is lazy doubt. What is lazy doubt? Lazy doubt is not making an effort, not bothering to figure something out, right? It's like, well, I'm not sure if I should do that or not. And then you never get sure. You never get clarity. You never figure it out, right? I'm not sure if they are a holy teacher or not. I'm not sure if I should listen to them or not. I'm not sure if I should follow those practices or not, you know? And so sometimes maybe you listen, sometimes you don't. You know, sometimes, I mean, all the scriptures say, you know, your teacher is the Buddha, right? Figure it out. Like, is your teacher, your heart teacher, the Buddha? You know, for you. Figure it out. And if they are, then listen to them. And if they're not, fine. But it's not like, well, this month I feel like they are, next month I feel like they aren't, you know? Or, you know, yeah, they are, but I sort of don't want to listen to them, or whatever it might be, right? So, you know, take an hour and figure it out. Or take a day, or take a week, or take a month and figure it out. Come to a conclusion, right? Not just like, yeah, I can never get clear on that, right? It's like you're sitting on the fence, you know? So it's like, don't be a spiritual fence sitter, right? So, am I going to meditate or not? Is it important to meditate or not? I'm not sure. I'm not really clear on whether I should really be meditating or not. I sort of feel like I should meditate every day, but I don't know. Maybe it's not that important. You know? Not important enough to do it. Figure it out. You know, is it important to meditate and perceive emptiness or not? And if it is, do it. And if it's not, fine, move on. You know, but don't be a spiritual fence sitter of like, yeah, I'm just fuzzy wuzzy, unclear, you know, floating along, whatever, right? That's lazy doubt. It's not bothering to get clear, right? Analyze it, you know, come to a conclusion. So make up your mind, right? You know? So be done with the excuses, you know. Get over the lazy doubt, you know. So there are a lot of spiritual decisions like that. You know, we allow things to go on that we should have figured out 10 years ago. You know, questions go on in our mind that we should have figured out, you know, years ago, right? And it's like, it's the best way to waste our life. It's the best way to waste our spiritual opportunity is to just float along vaguely, right? Without clarity, with the fence sitting. So, so that's it. So Master Arya Nagarjuna and Master Shantideva, they're saying, you know, that if you're constantly in a state of samadhi all day long because you're watching, you know, the food, the music, the sleep, thinking about too many things, living in the past, not being in the present, disliking other people, having unresolved doubts, if you're aware of all that, then you'll be in a kind of samadhi all day long. When you sit down to do deep meditation practice, you'll have a much more effective deep meditation practice, right? And it's a better way to live. So, all right, so we'll take a break there and then pick up